G'day people. Today I'm going to make the popular dish split pea and ham soup. Very popular in Europe and the British Isles. I'll be using green split peas and a smoked ham hock. And there's lots of different ways you can make this dish, many different ways. The Dutch make a version which they call aardappel soup, and they use bacon bones and rookworst and leeks, and they don't vitamise it. But and you can get Campbell's soups. You can get a vitamised version in a can, which I used to enjoy. So this is a smoked ham hock from Aldi. It's probably perhaps slightly smaller than the ones I normally have, but it'll be alright. It'll be fine. So what I do is just score it around in a couple of places, because this will make it a lot easier to get it off the bone. The idea is that you cook this for a long time, like 2 hours, at least 2 hours. Cook it long and slow, and that ham hock will just disintegrate, and the meat inside, which is not a huge amount of meat, but there is, it's a moderate amount of meat. So it's not the most meaty dish, but there's a lot of fat and gelatine in there. So you get a very thick soup, very thick, very nourishing, very stick to the ribs type. Stick to the ribs soup. You get fantastic in the winter, which this is not winter. This is spring, but whatever. I'm making it. So normally what I do is I just have the peas and the ham hock, and that's all. That's all. And that gives you the essential soup. But I just thought on this occasion I'll try something a bit different. For me, a bit different. So I'm not going to go the whole way that the Dutch go with theirs. I'm just going to, but I am going to put some carrots in, and I've got some leftover celery. I'll put that in too. And I always put in some veggie stock anyway, because that is just a great thing when you're making a soup and it's got veggies in it. You taste it, and if it doesn't taste good enough, just add some more of that. It's great like that, really good. So just some celery. I'm not worrying too much about how I dice this stuff up, because I'm going to vitamise it all once it's all cooked. The idea is you let it all cook. The skin on the ham hock, smoked hock, the skin comes away, the meat comes away from the bone, the gristle comes away. Just dip in all the peas. The idea is you just cook it. The peas swell up a lot, quite a lot, and they make the soup green. I mean, I guess you could probably make this soup with yellow peas. It'd probably taste much the same, but the tradition is to make it with the green. You want quite a lot of water, but yeah, quite a lot of water, 2.5 litres. Anyway, So you just put it on the stove, bring it up to temperature and just let it simmer. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just bring it up to temperature and I'll skim you get some froth comes out early on from the ham hock. Just skim that off. So the idea is we cook it a long time so that everything's cooked, take it out, take the meat out, separate the skin and the gristle and the bone, throw that stuff out, just put the meat back in. So you've got to be careful how you do this. You do not want any bone getting into your final product, because when you put it in a vitamizer, you'll end up vitamizing bone and it's not a good thing. So you've got to be very careful, and you really don't want the skin and the fat and the gristle. You want to get rid of all that. So we'll do that at the end after 2 hours. So I'm just going to bring it up to temperature and I'll be back. Okay, it's just been a little while just to get to bring it up to temperature. Now the froth's started to come out of the ham hock, so I'll just show you that. If I can manage to work this stupid thing. Froth. Froth, froth, froth. We don't want the froth. Hard to do this and watch it while I'm filming at the same time. Very hard to do. People who haven't tried it, it's very hard to do. Right, here is the ham hock. You can see the skin is shrunk away from the lines that I scored in the flesh. And here's the veggies. You got the split peas and the celery just having fun there in the broth. Alright, that's all looking good. Now I'm going to throw in a heaped teaspoon of this vegetable stock. That's all. That'll be plenty, if not more than enough. Right, so it's just a matter now of letting it cook. So what I'm going to do is turn the heat down. I'll turn the heat down and just let it gradually simmer until that ham hock is completely disintegrated, and until the split peas are totally swollen up, and they more or less disintegrate after a while too. So all I've got to do is stir it occasionally. You do need to come in and stir it, say, every half hour. Make sure the split peas aren't sticking to the bottom. It's especially important at the very beginning. Stir it at the very beginning, make sure those split peas don't stick to the bottom, because they will in the beginning, and not so much later. Anyway, I'll be back in a couple of hours when everything's completely cooked. Alrighty, soup has been cooking for 2 hours now, full 2 hours. So I'll just show you what it looks like. You can see that the skin has come away and the meat has come away from the bone. You can see the bone there, and the green peas are all disintegrated. And the soup has acquired its characteristic nature with that pea green. You know, it's such a classic pea green. It's a word, you know, pea green, a phrase, pea green. That's pea green. So all we're going to do now is get rid of the junk that we don't want. So in this case, we don't want the bone, and we don't want the gristle, and we don't want the skin. Ah, for Christ's sake. Pest. Right. Alright, so let's get a fork. Piece of dodgy piece of the skin, we definitely don't want the skin. It's a nice piece of meat. I'm just going to put everything that I want to keep into this stainless steel bowl. Nice bit of meat. So the meat's really nice. It's ham, it's tender, and it's smoked ham. It's got a lot of flavour. It's a classic. Alright. That's basically it for the bone. The bone can go. Now we get the fun bit, which is sieving out all the rest of the junk. I might just get that. I'm using the big ladle here. I don't use the big ladle very often, so it tends to gets a bit covered in grime from the stove. Seeing as how it's sitting above the stove, I just rinse it with hot water and it'll be fine. Big ladle, how big is it? It's 260 mils or something. A good cup anyway. So we just grab just rotate that so I can put stuff into the sieve without getting it all over the the kitchen bench. Alright, so there's a piece of skin that can go. I've got some meat there. Looks pretty good. Got some celery and carrots. They look good. I just break it up with a fork. I've got to say, this dish is very pungent. So it's probably not to everyone's taste, you know, you have to like this kind of thing. But it is a classic. Very pungent. I mean, the whole house smells of it now. Which is great if you like it. You know, it's basically the ham hock that smells. It's a very pungent thing. It's a strong flavoured meat. Now there's a piece with the skin still attached, so I'll just have to physically remove the skin, which you just do with a fork. It's no problem. And actually, there was a bit of meat on that other bit of skin. Come here, pest. The fact that it's hot makes it a bit harder too. It's really hot, it's boiling. Alright, so just break it apart with the fork again, just to make sure you haven't got any. Occasionally there'll be a little bit of bone, very small bone, and you don't want that very small bone. If it'll make a mess in the mixer when I go to mix it, it'll make a mess. We don't want it. So So just keep your eyes out, and you know, take your time with this step so you don't get the wrong things in, because it's a really easy dish to make, and the only thing that can really go wrong is if you get gristle and bone in this at this stage. This is the stage where you can make it go wrong. It's all good. This is a funny bit. It's kind of half skin and half meat. I think it's basically alright, so I'm just gonna... No point wasting the meat. No point wasting it. Alright. Just tip in the rest. Looks pretty good. There's just one little bit of something in there. There's a little bit of skin. And the rest is fine. So this is the most difficult part of the whole process, and the most messy, I've got to say. Quite messy. But that's alright, you just have to expect a bit of mess and you're fine. Alright, so that's the junk, that goes in the bin. Cool. Now I'm just going to rinse, clean up, and I'll be ready to vitamize it. Give me a minute. Okay, now it's all, I've all tidied up. Well, tidied up enough. So let's have a look at what it looks like before I vitamize it. Pea green soup with bits of carrot and celery and ham hock just floating around. Ham hock floating around ad hoc. Now, time to vitamize. This is a very, very gluggy soup. It's very sticky. That's why it sticks to the ribs, because it's genuinely very sticky. So don't spill it too much. When it cools down, it sticks to your stove and whatever. So you want to be careful with it. Just start on low, just to break up the bits. And you shouldn't hear anything harsh. If you hear something harsh, you've got a bit of bone in and you want to get rid of it. Then we'll go to medium. To pulse it a bit because it breaks up the lumps. Sometimes lumps will get caught at the top of the vortex and they don't get broken up. But if you, every time you pulse it, you'll get something. I don't think we need to go to high speed. You pour that in, first lot. It really is aromatic, by the way. Don't say I didn't warn you. Quite aromatic. Alright, the last bit. You can see how much soup it makes. It makes a lot. It makes a lot of soup. It'll feed a family for a while. I guess that's why it's such a popular dish, because It's a really efficient way of feeding the family. Again, just slow to start with. Everything's going well, go to medium. Done. Put all that in there. And there's a great big saucepan full of soup, all done. All done. Oops. Don't spill anything on the floor. That'd be bad. That'd be a bad thing to do. Now, I recommend you clean out your Vitamizer immediately. Don't let this stuff go hard. Because it contains a lot of gelatin, so when it goes hard, you know, it goes really quite hard. But yeah, mix it around with plenty of water and you'll be right. Plenty of water, and hot water, and clean it. Do the clean up when it's hot. Alright, so there it is. Let's get a bowl. Get a bowl. And a soup spoon. Gonna be eating soup. Eating soup, or is it drinking soup? Right. Here's what it looks like when it's done. It's not as vibrantly green as it once was. It's still green, but it's a bit sort of more grey because the ham hock has been vitamised into it. The ham hock's sort of a grey thing. Right, here's the bowl of pea soup. Split pea and ham. Split pea and ham soup. There it is. What does it taste like? It certainly smells aromatic. Quite an aromatic smell. You like it or you don't. Wow. It's an absolute classic. Wow. What a beautiful harmony of flavours. The smoked ham contrasting and complementing the split peas, and in there, because I put in the carrot and celery, you've got the sweetness of the carrot in there as well, and the freshness of the celery. It's just a fantastic combination. Just those 4 ingredients. Definitely don't need to put anything else in. Wow. Wow. So like I say, some people don't vitamise it, like the Dutch don't vitamise it, but personal preference. It's just easy to deal with. If you vitamise it, you don't need to chop everything up just right before you start. Otherwise, you do need to chop things up just right. Wow. Just fantastic. I've made this a bunch of times, for going back decades, and this is the best one I've ever made. It's really, really good, because I added the celery and the carrots. It's given it that extra freshness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of freshness. It was always good, always had the rich, the classic contrast of ham and pea, But now it's got this extra thing, extra freshness, extra sweetness with the with the vegetables. Really, really good. Fantastic. And it's incredibly filling. It's really filling. Like the split peas, you know, that you can't see an individual pea. All you can see is they just make this green mush, which is very nutritious and filling. And it absorbs all that. The ham hock contains all the gelatin, you know. I don't know how much stock comes out of the bones, and you've got the smokiness from it being smoked. So much flavour. And everything complements everything else. It's just a classic. Nothing is out of place, you know. Well, I've got plenty more to eat, but I'm going to be enjoying this one. This is the best one I've ever made. Wow, fantastic. So I'll leave you with that. I've got to wash up, but wow, fantastic.